Over the past few years, the rise of Andrew Tate has garnered a significant amount of attention and controversy. Tate, a British kickboxer and former Big Brother contestant, has become a prominent figure in the world of online masculinity and has amassed a large following on social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. While some see Tate as a champion of traditional masculinity and a voice for men's rights, others view him as a divisive figure who promotes toxic masculinity and regressive attitudes towards gender and sexuality. In this essay, we will explore what the rise of Andrew Tate says about the current state of masculinity and manliness. To begin with, it is important to understand the context in which Tate has risen to prominence. One of the main reasons for Tate's rise to fame is his unapologetic views on masculinity. He believes that men should be strong, dominant, and assertive, and that they should not be afraid to show their masculinity. He also believes that men should be the providers and protectors of their families, and that they should not shy away from their responsibilities as men. These views have resonated with many young men who feel that society is trying to suppress their masculinity. And in recent years, there has been a growing backlash against what some see as the excess of political correctness and feminism. Many men feel like their voices and concerns are not being heard or taken seriously, and they see Tate as a spokesperson for their frustrations. Tate presents himself as an unapologetic defender of male identity and masculinity, and he is quick to criticize what he sees as the emasculation of men in modern society. Another reason for Andrew Tate's rise to fame is his emphasis on entrepreneurship and self-reliance. He believes that men should not rely on others for their success, but should instead take control of their own lives and careers. He encourages young men to start their own businesses and become financially independent, which has resonated with many who feel that traditional career paths are no longer viable. However, while Tate's message may resonate with some men, it is important to recognize that his brand of masculinity is highly problematic. Tate is known for making controversial statements about women, promoting aggressive and violent behavior, and perpetuating harmful stereotypes about gender and sexuality. For example, he has referred to women as s***s and whores, and has suggested that men should be allowed to hit their partners if they are out of line. He has also been criticized for promoting a narrow and exaggerated vision of masculinity that excludes men who do not fit his definition of what it means to be a real man. So what does the rise of Andrew Tate say about the current state of masculinity and manliness? One interpretation is that it reflects a deep-seated anxiety among men about their place in the world. As society becomes more diverse and complex, some men may feel like they are losing their traditional role and status. This can lead to a sense of insecurity and resentment, which Tate taps into with his message of male empowerment and aggression. Another interpretation is that Tate's rise reflects a broader cultural shift towards a more polarized and tribalistic form of politics. In an era of political correctness and identity politics, many people are looking for someone who will stand up for their beliefs and values, regardless of how controversial or extreme they may be. Tate's message of male dominance and aggression may be appealing to some people precisely because it goes against the prevailing norms of gender and sexuality. With all this being said, it's no surprise that the rise of Andrew Tate is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that reflects a range of cultural, social, and political factors. While some see him as a symbol of resistance against the political correctness and the emasculation of men, others view him as a regressive and harmful influence on society. It is clear that there is a deep-seated debate about the meaning and value of masculinity in the 21st century, and with the rise of figures like Andrew Tate, it's just one manifestation of this ongoing conversation. However, there is one factor in this entire conversation that people are missing. The one word that epitomizes the power behind Tate's prolific and growing influence is convergence. Conspiracy theorists will cry that the CIA and other intelligence agencies are behind Tate's rise, using him as controlled opposition. The mainstream media and big tech giants will say it's purely a network of misogynistic men. And somewhere in between the noise, you'll even hear people screaming that it's just good marketing. But the secret behind Tate's rise is convergence. Now, what does that mean? Let me put it in perspective for you. Tate is a unique figure in the way he has been able to find common ground among most men in some way or another. A number of men so high that if you sat them in a room together, give it a few minutes, and they'd all be sitting at their own tables, being miles apart in opinions, culture, and worldviews, yet still appearing to see eye to eye with the figure that is Andrew Tate. Whether it be the misogynistic quote-unquote incel that talks big behind a screen, that's just looking for someone tough that echoes what they feel, or the well-educated, hard-working, good-mannered young man who just got his heart broken and is looking for the answers to the way he feels. The two are able to unite at the figure of Tate and what he says, and just as importantly, how he says it. Another person could be a man who has no genuine hatred in his heart towards women at all, but has felt misunderstood and insignificant because his struggles are made to feel invalid simply because he is a straight man. Someone like Tate becomes the voice for that type of man, and the toxic things he says will go through one ear and out the other. And the extremes he goes to when wanting to establish a point are either ignored or embraced by the type of men who view Tate as their voice in the lone. In a place and time where we are right now, where these types of aforementioned men exist in greater numbers than at any other point in history, Andrew and Tristan Tate are like flaming arrows hitting a bullseye in the dark. It's also not wrong to say that Tate is right about some things, even if you disagree with him. However, with someone who talks as much as he does, it's not surprising he'd say something that everyone can agree on at least once. There's also the political aspect of Andrew Tate, where he is able to pull people in who feel forgotten by their elected officials, and silenced by the media that is supposed to be the voice for them. No matter what side of the political aisle you are on, it's no mistake that Tate has been positioned as a champion of the people, simply by the fact that the mainstream media and social media platforms are doing everything to shut him down and shut him off. Andrew Tate has been able to successfully capture a massive, wide-reaching, diverse audience of men, and even some women, thanks to all of the converging factors mentioned here. Remember, a large number of impressionable young men come to the corner of the internet where Tate-like figures are present, and they just want to know how to be a man. Getting women isn't the central focus. However, what's being said about women in these circles does not go unnoticed by the subconscious mind, and to say it can't take root in someone's heart is foolish. Instead of shaming the men who follow these influencers and content creators, we can change the conversation. The only reason why these types of influencers are popular is because they are offering a band-aid to a gaping wound in a world of men who feel undervalued, untaught, unseen, and broken. While there are genuinely some men out there who just want to find as many reasons as possible to amplify their misogyny and look down on women, we cannot make the mistake of lumping all of these men who follow this type of content as such. In fact, when doing so, it's more than likely pushing more men who are just looking to find answers into the category of pure misogynists. As difficult as it might be for many of us, we also need to recognize that Andrew Tate is human. The biggest test of integrity is not talking loud about what you believe, but practicing what you preach, even if it means seeing the humanity in someone you cannot see eye to eye with. So the question stands, where do we go from here? The key is just three things. First, it's empathy. Empathy needs to be practiced. The biggest and most powerful form of acknowledgement is empathy. It's not just showing the fact that there's a problem, it's showing up to help with the situation. Solutions to a problem are always good, but people don't really care about what you know until they know that you care. Instead of generalizing or talking down to groups of people who follow problematic trends or influencers, recognize movements like this usually come out from a place deeper than what we can see on the surface. If we look at certain statistics, it's not hard to get a glimpse into the very real darkness many men deal with on the daily. Next is engagement. Engagement needs to happen. We can't push people away we disagree with. We cannot keep hitting block, mute, or report on topics and trends we don't fully comprehend. While we should be aware not to accept certain dangerous and plain outrageous ways of thinking, there's a difference between having discussions and being approving. The last thing is to encourage. Encourage the men we love in our lives to seek help when need be. Encourage them to be the exception in a negative culture, to be the one who takes all of the noise of the conversation and make it into music. Encourage them because you never know what one text, one word, one gift you give, how it could be what changes the course of someone's life. Encouragement plants seeds of hope in the heart of everyone who hears it. As for the echo chamber of thought filled with pseudo-intellectuals, instigators for outrage, and actors playing a character, time will deal with them accordingly. Even if numbers don't fade, good-sounding ideas and doctrines built on sand will will ultimately fall. Holes and missing pieces in trends once thought as unstoppable will begin to slow its momentum. Accountability matters, and beyond that, the true character of someone will always be revealed at one point or another. As much as many in that corner of the internet would like to be perceived as invincible, nobody is. But for many of those on the other side of this circumstance, the die-hard loyalists and the ones who take every word coming out of this echo chamber as gospel, they have a story or circumstance that leads them to that place. As mentioned before, what the mainstream narrative would like us to do is dehumanize people like that. What the other side would like us to do is go 100% along with whatever they're pushing out, no matter how extreme, ludicrous, or at worst, violent it may be. In issues as complex as this, with so much noise, the answer resides in the middle. It starts with what we can do individually. Empathy, engagement, encouragement. Because the more we yell and scream and cry out easily repeatable buzzwords over social media, instead of laying out thoughtful responses to complex issues, we will forever contribute to the noise that continues to engulf the harmony of reason. To close us out, I want to read a few words that encapsulate the essence of how we should live, given the theme of what we covered here. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but it always rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves.